We can't do empires anymore. Empires can't exist because everyone's too racist. Everyone believes in nationalism. You can't have empires and nationalism at the same time. They're incompatible. Empires expand and encompass other nations. They encompass like a wide variety of ethnic groups, you know? You like that's how the Roman Empire people like fucking marble statue avies on Twitter will be like, well, the Roman Empire was basically the precursor to the modern white ethno-state. You look at a map of the Roman Empire and it's like, brother, half of these people are like as black gets. This is not a white ethno-state. These were not proto-Nazis. Everyone here is some kind of brown. They're all Mediterranean. Half of the empire is the Middle East and North Africa, man. Because we used to consider people the most important resource. That was how all human history was for thousands of years, up until Europeans discovered that you can put boom juice in a stick and make it go blat, and then someone in front of you dies. For like all of human history, the most important factor in like a nation or an empire's power is how many people it had. Like fundamentally, that was the important part. And then the West got a technological boom for a wide variety of reasons. And we're kind of returning a little bit, you know, with the demographic crisis being where it is. Now that the average Westoid / Japanese / South Korean has approximately 0.1 children per woman, you know, where there's going to be like hegemonic Middle Eastern, South Asian, and African sort of trading and political blocks that the West is going to be more or less locked out of due to spite. And why would they? Of course, their ability to unite is going to come down to their ability to overcome their regional differences, you know? Like, in order for that to be a real threat to the West, the 50 trillion ethnic groups in Africa are going to need to agree on one thing, which is at least they're not white. And the South Asian, listen, India and Pakistan, my brothers in Christ, to us Westoids, you guys look the same. I'm sorry, we really don't know what's going on over there. You need to unite against the white threats. Why did mostly white countries go through the Industrial Revolution? Isn't that wild? It wasn't really about them being white. I think it was just about like Western Europe being so a couple of things fueled this, right? So on one hand, the weather in Europe is really fucking good. Like in terms of crop efficiency, the availability of livestock, and trade routes. You have like a lot going on over there, I think, that could kind of like fuel development and growth in a way that's not like evenly distributed. Not for long. Okay, well we're talking historically. What you have to understand though is that like the technological supremacy of the West is a blip in historical terms. For hundreds of years, the Islamic world was undeniably the center of human civilization in terms of like technology, culture, progress, art, governance, you know. And China, China's had the longest, like they've had multiple periods of time where they were like the undisputed center of the world. We don't even talk about that. We're out there learning about like what France was like in 900. Buddy, France in 900 was like a shit pile. England in 900 AD, they're all blowing bubbles in the swamp. Like China was out there doing crazy shit, doing tricks on it then and way back then, you know? So right now we all talk like, oh, you know, the West reigns supreme, but we're seeing the end of that right now. The West is not any more technologically advanced meaningfully than China. Like, China is industrializing at a rapid pace. They have access to the same technology that we do. In fact, when it comes to machining and tooling, they're ahead of us. Like, they have tech that we don't. They're developing, and they have a larger population than we do, you know? And that's just China, one country, versus the continent of Europe and America. You know what the population of Africa is going to be when all things settle down? What about India? Like, people, you think these technological bumps are going to matter in the long run? Like the relative level of, just understand this, okay? Understand this. 70 years ago, most of the countries in Western Europe that we now consider to be relatively advanced were bombed out from the war and pretty dilapidated. France, Germany, England in the 1950s, these countries were poor. They lived on rations. They were rebuilt by us. And now, through relative stability, they've been able to build themselves back up, and we consider them to be, developed and economically prosperous for the most part. America has benefited from our economic supremacy for a long time. Japan as well, yeah. But, like, that's recent. If you were to ask a person back in, like, 1949, hey, so you think, like, the West, like America, and also countries like Germany and France and England and stuff, we're all, like, the light of the civilized world, right? We're all like on top technologically. There's a huge gulf here, massive one. Europe was devastated by the war, absolutely devastated. That language just wouldn't really like work as well back then. Also, they would shoot you because you would have sounded like a Nazi, Likewise, yeah, if you go back to the 1600s, pre-Enlightenment Europe, right? Most of Europe was a feudal shit pit. Like, the Holy Roman Empire was a joke. Bismarck wouldn't be around to unite these fucking mini-states for 1,000,000 years, okay? What was Italy then? A bunch of city-states? A bunch of wealth concentrated from... Do you have any idea how poor most of Europe was for most of civilization? Like, most of... up until the past 100 years? The average Italian, the average Spanish person, the average German, the average French was probably on par with, in terms of poverty, as like a Chinese or Indian person back then, or at least comparable, prior to Western imperialism. Like if you go to 1600s or whatever, no matter where in the world you go, it's like people just barely scraping by a subsistence living, Non-Mediterranean Europe was pretty poor, and Mediterranean Europe, like again, Italy and most of Spain were really, really poor, even during the relative heydays of those states. Oil caused the Industrial Revolution? No, it didn't. Coal did. Well, a lot of things did, but coal was the primary driver. Oil wasn't as big of a deal until later.